So you got a camper and you're wondering what's the first thing you should do. Well, if it isn't obvious, I'll go through that today. So what's the first thing you should do? I'm not asking about the first thing you want to do. Of course, I know what you want to do. We all want that. But could this first thing be the best thing you'll ever do so that you can enjoy your rig for a long time to come? When you get a camper, you're not just getting one item. You're getting a big vehicle with a lot of components, each with their own learning curves. Thankfully, I've had the chance to go camping, get to know new areas, and make a lot of memories, and I'm grateful. But all of that came after I sat down to do this one thing that I advise you to do too. I'll share what to look out for, why you should do this, and how I did it. Oh, hey, so you thought this video was about RVing? Well, I guess it is. I mean, I'm reading about circuit breaker, electrical step, furnace, refrigerator. I mean, I feel like I have an exam coming, like I'm being tested. Hey guys, welcome to another episode. Today we are in the RV and we have reading material in front of us. You know, when you buy an RV and when the salesman pitches you the idea of, the RV, they're never going to talk about this stuff. You know, it's always you picture camping, you picture the fire, you picture your family by a river, at a mountain, at a national park. You know, you picture all the beautiful things which are true about RVing. And the salesman's not gonna say, "Hey, buddy, look, you got 20 manuals to go through, and let's go through the details and see if you want to buy it." Right? They're gonna go through the features. They're gonna sell you the dream, and that's really why we get the RV. You know, at the end of the day, that is why you want to get an RV. But what no one's gonna tell you, and what I'm gonna tell you, and what my experience was when I got the RV, I got the keys, and I got a big bag. Thankfully, and so you have two options. Do you just get the keys and start your trip, or do you kind of see what's in the bag? Hopefully, you have a bag, and we'll talk about that in a bit. And what I'm going to tell you is that from my experience, I thought that once I got the RV, day first weekend, I was ready to hit the road, go to a campsite. But what ended up happening was that I actually took about 3 weeks, 4 weeks of actually studying the material before actually taking her on the first maiden trip. And trust me, I wanted to take her out day one. I mean, even if it was, to put gas or to the local campsite. I just wanted to drive it. I was having a good time with the whole experience of buying it. I couldn't wait to get it on the road to start creating memories. But when the reality hit me that I needed to actually learn what I was getting into after I got into it, I had all these things I had to read, and so it took me about 3 or 4 weeks before I actually took her on the first trip. And the first trip was with my wife and my mom, and I knew that I needed, it was going to be my responsibility to make sure that they were safe, to make sure that we had a good time, to make sure that I knew how to connect things when I got to the RV site. But for me, what was in the bag was a bunch of manuals, thankfully, that I was able to inherit so I could actually learn about the RV. What I got with mine was the Red Hawk manual for my RV. Now this is for the build, not necessarily for the engine. That's Ford, but this is for the build of the RV and all the components and things like that. We'll get into that a little bit. And I also got, of course, the Ford manual. So that is a whole other story of things you have to read. Your first trip could be in the winter, could be in the summer, whatever it may be. For us, it was in the fall. But your first trip could contain playing with propane, with heaters, with the cooking, with the stove. So many different components that you're gonna maybe encounter on your first trip, and you don't want to be out there not knowing, guessing. You might break something as well. It's not always about safety. It might just be about protecting your investment. So in this video, I want to talk about how for me it was kind of like going back to school. I didn't think I was going to get a binder and dividers again, and have all these things to read. Um, but I really needed to feel safe and feel like I was actually investing time into the learning experience of an RV. And of course, this goes for many hobbies. You pick up a hobby, you have to learn a new skill, you have to learn new knowledge. So that kind of goes without saying. But with an RV especially, it's a really big hobby, you're changing a lifestyle, you're going into a lifestyle of traveling, of going places. This is your vehicle, this is your vessel. So you have to be prepared, to learn not only the motor coach side of things, but the chassis or the engine, the Ford or whatever the vehicle that you're using. And so there's a lot to learn. And of course, this is only the beginning. When you do join the RV world and join this lifestyle, learning is going to become part of your normal routine. Even if you've gone and memorized or taken notes on all this material, you're still going to find that things, are going to require some research. Something may break down. You may buy something in addition and a mod or whatever. So you're going to always be learning about your vehicle, and of course about the lifestyle, about how to go about RVing wherever you are. So just some quick tips for you. If you're going to buy it new, I would imagine that it comes with the manuals that you need. We bought ours used. So thankfully it came with, I think, what was all or most of the material that I needed that came from the original owner. But yeah, this is a tip for you. If you are looking to buy an RV used, it could be an RV, a trailer, whatever. Maybe one of the things that will make you lean one toward one buyer or the other is going to be the way that they maintained their material. And sometimes RVs can go down. A few owners. Second, third degree. You might be the fourth, fifth. And I get those situations. If you get a good deal, get it. But if you can, of course, ask if they have the original material. And if you're lucky, or if you get a good seller, you are going to come across people who do maintain their manuals and at least will give you the basics of what came with the RV. Now, the good thing is that for some of these things, I actually, like for the generator, this one comes with a Cummins Onan generator. This one didn't come with a manual, but thankfully I went online and printed the manual so I could put it into this binder. So I'm going to go into tips today about how I organized our binder for the RV. This is something that we keep in the RV at all times for every trip. It gives me peace of mind that even if I don't need to open this on every trip, that if I do need to go to a component, I have it organized and I know where it's going to be. Now, another thing is that if you are more of a digital person, you want to have the manuals digitally on your phone or computer, that's possible. You could probably find the PDFs of these manuals individually, but just know that you need to have them offline because many times you're going to be at a place where you won't have cell phone signal or you won't have internet, or unless you have internet equipped in your vehicle at all times, and you're going to have times when you're going to come across where you don't have the material. So my recommendation would be to always have something offline if that's going to be an issue where you're going to be prepared, because the internet's not always available. So I really like having the offline version of the things I need. But for some of these, like for example, for the Red Hawk manual for this year, this exact same book, I have it in a PDF format on my phone, is bookmarked, so it does go to an online resource. I do have to have connection to the internet, but it's available if I need to go through and check it on the phone real quick. However, when I first started out, I really did use this pretty much like my Bible. Now, this book is very useful. It's going to go through all the general things you need to know about your RV by the maker of the actual recreational vehicle. It's going to go through all the systems, clean, even down to the details of cleaning, maintenance, tanks, electricity, everything you really need to know. I literally read this one from beginning to end. And this is probably what took me about 2 or 3 weeks to actually read the whole thing and remember what I was reading and taking notes. Now, one thing I would say about this one is that it's still general. So even if it's pretty specific for 2018, the model Red Hawk by Jayco, pretty specific manual, but still general. So you'll still find parts in here that will tell you, for your component, it may be different. It doesn't get into the details of some of the components. So it'll tell you, for specific details on that component, make sure you follow the instructions of that component's manual. And guys, some of these things, like I swear, like almost every 2 or 3 pages or every section, you're gonna come across these warnings, and they are literally like, if you don't, pay attention to this warning, the consequence is death. or serious injury. Like they get pretty serious. Like almost every section is about, if you don't listen to this one, the consequences are death. Like it's really pretty serious. So it's something to take serious. At the end of the day, you're gonna get to know it one day at a time, one trip at a time, and you'll know what the habits are, what the to-dos are, what's serious, what you can kind of, you know, and you're gonna get to know your systems without having to reference this all the time. But in the beginning, I would recommend that you take it very seriously. For me, like I said, our first trip was with my mom, with my wife. Then very the the second trip, I had my godsons with me. So we had kids in the RV sleeping over with the heater on. It was pretty cold, like in November. So I had the responsibility to make sure that the kids, that my guests, that my wife, that my mom, whoever it may be, we're going to come out of this having a good experience, not a bad experience, especially because you have propane and you have electricity and you have other things to worry about. Anyway, so let me show you what I have. We have this Red Hawk manual, which is what I mentioned. This comes from the manufacturer of the RV. And then we have our chassis manual from Ford. So this is also a good read, especially if you've never had a big vehicle before. For me, this is the first time I've ever owned a vehicle this big, a vehicle with more than 4 tires, a vehicle this heavy. So for me, it was something that I also had to learn and get to know. So I'm going to go into what's in the binder just to give you an idea of the manuals that I got with me. And this is for an RV. Of course, if you have a trailer or a different type of recreational vehicle, may be different. So the first thing I did was I went to Amazon and I got myself a binder. Pretty good binder, good width, pretty solid. Because I wanted to have something that was way more organized than just having a bag. This was not going to work for me because I don't like going through a bunch of paperwork when I need something quickly. Now, the first thing I did in the first sleeve is I just went to the Jayco website. Well, actually, there's a couple websites, but I went to get the specifications of the RV. So this is just kind of like a eagle eye, bird's eye view of everything that I found. And there's websites that will give you these specifications for your RV based on the VIN. So you could see that this goes into the transmission, the dimensions, the weight, which is really important to know. Also, this is really helpful. Sometimes it's easy to forget the volume that your tanks can carry. So this has all the capacities of the holding tanks, of the propane tanks. So I felt like this spec sheet was really useful. I have all my information here. You could see. Now the second thing I put as I opened my binder, I went to the Jayco website, and this is more like a marketing this is more like a marketing brochure of the one I have. And you could tell it's not specific. It has different models: the Red Hawk, the Grey Hawk, Melbourne. I have the Red Hawk. But this tells you kind of basics of what things are, what the features are. So I felt like this was a nice thing to have. You could see that our floor model is right here, the 22J. And I also thought that this was a nice thing to put in the binder in case I ever resell this RV. I'll have a good presentation for the next buyer. Now this also does come with details, so standard equipment, things that yours may come with. Of course, this is not specific to your VIN, so it's a little bit more general. So I feel like that was a nice touch to have as the first thing on the binder. Now check this out. Look at how many dividers I have. Air conditioning, awning, cooktop, circuit breaker, electrical step, furnace heater, generator, inverter, microwave oven, power control center, previous owner information, refrigerator, slide out, tire fast liners, transfer switch, TV antenna, TV, water filter, water heaters, water pump. And then in the back, I just have all the extra dividers in case you buy something new that you need to put in here. Now I did do mine in alphabetical order. This has been so convenient to use. I've often had to go right exactly to the one I need. Now these don't come, with holes, so I did take the time to hole punch them so I can actually, review them if I need to within the binder, right in the binder, or you can always take it out and then look at the manual. But I did have to put hole punch in many of these, so you could see here that everything is so easy to access. I have come to this pretty routinely, pretty regularly to learn about how to maintain something, especially how something works. This one's, these are really important here. This is the furnace, really important to know. The generator also. Now the generator didn't have, like I said, I downloaded the manual from the internet. So this is a printout from what you get on the internet, and then I was able to print it here. It's a huge manual, so I do have the longer version on my computer. But this is the overview of how to maintain and troubleshoot if I ever need to. I hope this gives you an idea of what I did. I feel good carrying something this organized with me whenever I need to, on every trip, so that if I ever need to, hopefully I don't need to come to it often. It will be organized, and I won't have to shuffle through online articles or even or even all the manuals that are in the bag. Another bonus tip is that if you do something like this and if you ever do sell it, I think this would be a nice thing to include when your sales pitch, when you're talking to somebody who's going to buy it from you used. I think this would be a really nice way to present the RV. You'll come off as an owner that was organized, that took care of the RV, that took the time to learn about the RV. So hopefully they'll get confidence in you as a seller moving forward. So yeah, everyone, that's what I had to talk about today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it provided some tips. If you liked the video, share it with somebody and subscribe to the channel for more related videos.